Hello everyone. So today I'm going to share with you my experience. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I have had some relatives who are not so young, like teenagers, ask me if I have ever had any experience with the supernatural, what are those things called? Ouija boards, stuff like that. And I'm going to tell you guys and share with you guys what I told them, because I'm hoping that this will help you guys, like I try to help them, to show them that this is not something that you want to take lightly or mess around with. And by sharing my experience, I can help you to see that if you choose to do those kind of things, that what will happen, what could happen. And I also want to help you, as if you already have or are doing it, how you can maybe get away from that kind of stuff. Now, first thing I want to say is, if you are below 18 years of age, do not watch this video without your parents' consent. Let's see. But if you are 18 years older and above, then you can choose to watch what you want. Anyway, so I'm going to share with you my experience, so in the hopes that you guys will not make the same mistake that I did, and to prevent you guys from doing what I did, which I was a teenager back then too, thinking that messing around with these kind of things was innocent, when in reality it's not. But let me share with you my experience and let you know what happened. So here it is. When I was about in the 4th or 5th grade, I'm thinking I was in the 5th grade, 5th or 6th grade. I don't really remember. All I know is I was in junior high. I was in junior high. I'm not going to say what school I went to, but when I was in junior high, I never really liked reading. So I remember that one day our teacher told us, okay, you have to check out a book and you have to read it, and then do not an essay. We weren't going to talk about the books, because I remember she just wanted us to encourage us to read, and that's all I remember. So what I did is, of course, not liking to read, I was going to get the very thinnest, smallest book that I can find. So in the very back of the library, there was this area, and I think it was they had scary books and stuff like that. And the book that I ended up checking out was a very small book with maybe 20 pages, maybe even less than that. That book had, in the beginning, I don't remember the title of it, but in the front of it, it had candles, and it kind of told you what each candle color was for. And of course, it gave you if you wanted to do spells or stuff like that. Which, to tell you the truth, when I was a teenager, I was not a Christian. I am now. I wasn't then. And back then, I also thought that kind of stuff, that book, to me, that was I thought it was nothing. I thought it was no big deal. I just thought it was silly, really. And the reason why I picked it out more than anything was because it was a very small book, like I said, less than 20 pages to read, and it was good for me. So anyway, I remember that night, I remember that day, coming home from school. Now, when I would come home from school, both of my parents worked. So when I got home, they weren't at home. They were at work, and I probably was at home for an hour or two before they actually, got home from work. So I remember coming home from school, and I remember going to my room, putting my book down. I remember scanning over it. I didn't read it. I just kind of scanned over it, and just to kind of see the pictures, because like I said, it had pictures of a lot of candles, and it kind of told you what different candles were for. The red was for love, the green was for money and, different stuff like that. Anyway, I remember that since I had just come home from school, I was, hungry and tired. So I put the book down next to my bed, just laying like this, just flat. It was open, but it was like this, flat. I remember laying it like that. And I walked from my room to the kitchen, and I was fixing myself, I think, a sandwich or something. And anyway, I got this, like, the eerie feeling. So from the kitchen, I can, like, look like this, and I can see the door to my room, and I could see the table where I had laid the book like this. Well, when I looked like that and I saw the book, the pages of the book were flipping. And I looked at it and I was like, it scared me. But then I was kind of like, I just kind of looked away and I didn't look back. And I was thinking to myself, because I remember thinking to myself, I think I left the window to my room open, and maybe, the wind was blowing the pages. So I just finished my sandwich and doing whatever I was doing in the kitchen. And I went to my room, and when I got to my room, the window was closed. So there was no wind, no fan in my room, nothing to be flipping those pages. But, I just kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of blew it off, like thinking, it was probably just my imagination or whatever, Okay. So then later that day when my parents get home, and some of this story is a little bit kind of like, I don't remember everything about it. Like, I know for a fact that I did not go to my parents and tell them, oh, look at what book I checked out. I know that for sure, because it's just not me. I just don't do that, But for somehow, some reason, some way, my mom saw the book. And she's like, what are you doing with this book? I go, what do you mean? She goes, yeah. She goes, this book, you shouldn't have these kind of books. She goes, you could bring demons into the house and, spirits and all that kind of stuff, And of course me, I was like, yeah, right, whatever. I just kind of laughed at it. I was like, whatever. I go, it's just the book. And she was like, okay. And she told me in Spanish, she goes, what did she, let me see if I can remember what she said. She said something like, ahí te va, si no te pasa algo. That's what she said. Which means in English, let's see if I can translate it. It means like, okay, wait and see. I hope nothing happens to you, but, So, I was like, I was a kid. Like I said, I was 5th or 6th grade, I don't remember. And junior high. Anyway, so I was like, okay, just kind of laughed it off. And that was it. Well, later that night, I went to bed. Well, okay. I remember reading the book, reading. And the thing about it is, let me tell you something about that book. To me, it was like hilarious that, some of the spells that were on there, because a lot of the ingredients that you needed to make the spells was like ridiculous. Like, I'll just give you an example of one. I don't remember the spell, but I'll just tell you like an example of what you needed for this kind of stuff. Like, let's just say the leg of a frog. Like, I'm going to go out and chop the leg off of a frog to do a spell. Okay, that just ain't me. Okay? So to me, I was kind of more like, I thought it was funny, like, oh my God, some of the stuff that you needed to do this kind of stuff was like ridiculous. I'm like, well, I'm never going to do any of these kind of stuff for sure, I just did it, like I said, I don't like to read, so I got it because it was like the thinnest book that I could find in the library of the junior high school. And so, anyway, I just thought it was funny and ridiculous, and I was like, I'm never going to do that. I don't even, why even worry about, like my mom said, that I could bring demons. Well, I'm not going to use any of that stuff. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So, it's not going to, nothing's going to happen. And even then, I really didn't even believe in that kind of stuff. So, okay. So, like I said, I read some of the stuff at night, and okay, then I went to bed, Well, I turned off the lights, I went to bed, and as soon as I laid my head down, and I was sleeping to the side, as soon as I laid my head down, I thought, I was like, is my head throbbing? I mean, as soon as I laid my head down, it was like, I remember I started thinking, is my head throbbing? Because it felt like, here's my head, and I was like, I was thinking my head was throbbing. So then I got up on the bed and I sat down like this, and I put my hands on the bed like this. And that bed was moving. It was not moving like The Exorcist, but it was breathing. It was going like this. And I was so scared that I could not scream and I could not move. And the weird thing about that is that as soon as that happened, my mom came to my room because my door was closed. She came into my room, opened up my door, turned on the lights, and she looked at me. She goes, "What's wrong?" Like she knew something was happening, something was wrong. Because my mom is not the kind of person that at night, before she goes to bed, comes and says good night, and opens up our door and anything like that. No. It's almost as if she could sense that something was not right. And when she did that, I told her what happened. And she was like, "See, I told you, you're going to bring the demons into this house." She goes, "You better take that book right home take that book to school the next day." She goes, that book better not be here tomorrow when I come home. And yeah. And I was like, I know, I'm not going to, trust me, I don't. So anyway, yes, I took the book back the next day, gladly. And that night I slept with my parents. And needless to say, since that day until this day, to this day forward, I always have a nightlight. And some of my friends have told me, "Oh, aren't you going to turn off the light to my nightlight?" I'm like, "Oh, no, that's my nightlight." And they look at me and they laugh and they're like, "That's more like a spotlight." Because I like my room very bright, and I rarely can ever sleep when it's really dark. The only time I can sleep when it's dark, and I still need a nightlight, but but not pitch dark, as if I have, like when I was married, or if I have a girlfriend spending the night, then I'll have a real light, a night light, but a light one where it's still kind of dark so that other people can sleep. I'm used to sleeping with pretty much light. And now that I have Sammy, he really doesn't like the light. So I make it a little bit darker for him because he thinks when there's lights, he has to be up. So I have to make it a little bit darker for him. But if I did not have Sammy with me, that room would be shining bright as this room right now. But anyway, one thing I want to tell you guys, that was my experience with that. Even though I never did the spells, even though I didn't even finish reading the book, and it was only like 20 pages or less, that bad spirits, attach themselves to things. Okay, so like I was saying, evil spirits like to attach themselves to things. And even though you may not, let's just say you buy an Ouija board, or like me, get a book, just because, even if you never use it, it could already have something evil attached to it, which could harm you. Now, I also want to let you guys know that even though I returned the book back to the school, whatever evil was there, it did not leave. It was still there, haunting. I was always scared. And not just that, but my bed did move. Like several days later, my bed moved again. Like it breathed like that again. I had nightmares. Of course I would have nightmares. And then another time my bed moved again. And it wasn't even in that room or that house. It was in another house. That house was my parents' house. I was staying at my grandparents' house one day, and it happened again. So I had to pray to God. This is what I did. I had to pray to God to help me to get rid of those, or that spirit, evil spirit, whatever it was that was taunting me, and only with consistent prayer, attending, meetings. Well, back then I didn't go to church, and like I said, we weren't Christians, but I was a little kid. But I prayed a lot, and I remember my mom and me, we went into the room and we prayed, prayed and prayed, and we would do that almost every day for a long time, to help God to get rid of the spirits and stuff like that. And after that, like I said, it only happened like 3 more times, but I did have a lot of nightmares, even years later, and every once in a blue moon now too. But my bed has never again moved like that. So I hope that this experience will help you guys not to even mess around with anything that has to do with spirits, Ouija board, anything that has to do with that calls the spirits, because like the Bible says, they can harm you, and you really don't want that. So I hope my story encourages you guys not to do or mess around with any of that kind of stuff, because again, even if you never use it or do it, just by buying something or renting something that has to do with spiritism, could end up harming you. And it could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't. Thank God for that. But the way we were able to get rid of that is by constant prayer, and that's one thing that you can do if you're if that happens to you, because that's what I did, and it worked for me. So I don't know if it'll work for other people, but it did for me. And that's what helped me, and that's what I encourage people just to kind of stay away from all that, just like I did for my family. Like don't even mess with that. Don't even go there, because it's a lot harder to get rid of than you think, and yeah, so that's my story, and just wanted to share that with you guys, especially now that we're in a time where we're in a season where people like to mess around with that kind of stuff, and they think it's innocent and it can't harm them, but so just wanted to share my story and my experience. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell next to the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that. If you follow me on Instagram, then